You're listening to the 23 Personnel Podcast, a Texas Tech athletics podcast where food and sports clash at the goal line. Here are your hosts, Spencer and Michael.
All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to an episode of the 23 Personnel Podcast. I am your host, Spencer, joined by Michael. Michael, what's up, man?
I'm back from the fair. We hit up the fair tonight. It's the bye week. I'm ready. I'm ready to just enjoy my Saturday. And
I enjoyed Saturday.
Oh, I mean, I did too, but
Parts of it.
It's more fun to enjoy it when you can actually sit and watch the game. But hey, Queen Bees are 2-0. Can't complain about that.
No complaining about wins around here.
That's right. We do not complain about Queen Bee wins.
We will tonight give a final recap and wrap up of the game this past weekend versus Utah. Wrap up the week that was the Big 12. Give you some of our thoughts on where we were right, where we were wrong thus far as we hit a third of the way through the season. We are 4 weeks in, 8 more to go, 8 more games to go. Look at what's on the docket for this weekend's game. If you're going to take in any games this weekend, get you prepared for that. Some Big 12 news. Shocker, one coach is out. Although he's kind of been on the outs for a while, but made official today. And then basketball news dropped today.
Yeah, sort of.
Questions. What do we learn? We'll get you out of here. So let's travel back in time to Saturday afternoon, Michael. Texas Tech defeats Utah 34-10. And okay, part of me wants to even, you can't take points off the board. But I almost want to concede we beat Utah 27-10. Last touchdown's kind of, what is that? Not egregious.
Excessive? Not excessive either.
What is that
It's
word?
basically a pick six was what they did.
Yeah, the very next play we scored on it. But whatever that word is, I can't think of. I mean, still though, a 17-point, 24-point victory, whatever you want to consider it. Much more so than the 3.5 points that Utah was favored. Looking back, Texas Tech and Joey McGuire are now 2-5 on the road. We brought this up in the preview, and I stole this from Kyle. 2-5 on the road outside of the Central Time Zone. 1-3 in road openers, and now 7-10 on the road overall.
I would like to go back and fully claim this 34-10 score, because within that 34-10 score, Texas Tech had 14 penalties. So yes, I think we earned. Wait, I lost you for a second. Did you lose me? Where are you?
Score predictions. It's 100%, Michael. He was once again very close.
Can you hear me?
Yep. See that I'm one.
You're really staticky. Okay, we lost Spencer. He'll come back. He'll be back. I have faith. We got any people in the chat this evening? Let me see. Let me see if I can get that open. Say hello if you're in the chat.
Well, am I back?
You're staticky and delayed.
I hate this. Whole heart hate this.
It's like I hear you say something, or I see you say something, and then you say it about 10 times fast 2 seconds later. He's back.
I'm back. I can hear you.
Yep, and you sound normal again. You don't sound like the Micro Machine Man.
Well, when did that happen?
Well, I mean, I felt like I was talking about Texas Tech's penalties, and then the next thing I know, it felt like you totally were talking over me.
Yeah, I didn't hear you talk about penalties at all.
So there we go. That's when it happened. It was right after you. What
I
were
was
we?
starting.
Oh, you had mentioned that you'd finished your point, I believe, about 34-10. And I was kind of walking that back saying, no, I want to claim the full 34-10 because Texas Tech had 14 penalties. So we get all 34 points, all of them, earned every single one. So that's all it was.
You missed out on. I was giving you a lot of credit because I'm going back to our score prediction, and I was talking about if you want to listen to somebody that when they give a score prediction, who you should listen to between the two of us. But you missed that. I was giving you lots of credit because your score was 31-21. Your closest, I think. I gave Texas Tech fewer points, 27, and Utah 13 more points. I gave them 27-23. So again, you're killing it there. Definitely helps. I don't know if it helps. Let's go back to the penalty point, because my goodness, you spotted them at 10 more penalties and 100 something more yards.
Yeah. 12 more penalties and 112 more yards. Yeah, they had 2 penalties for 10 yards, and one of them was that one of them took away a touchdown. So that was a really big one. That probably counts for 10. But yeah, technically only 2 penalties for 10 yards. One thing I also wanted to pat myself on the back for is during our preview, I forgot I said this when we did our instant reaction, but during our preview, I did mention Texas Tech false start issues, ? Big road test.
There it is.
I hate that was 100% correct. I mean, 1,000% correct because they had false start issues at home. The first 3 games, which obviously would lead you to think, I wonder how they'll do on the road in a place that's notoriously loud, despite all the people gone for their children's sports that morning at 10 a.m. Enough made it. They must have given their tickets away. So yeah, that came to be a problem, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. Also in our preview, you brought up that Utah was 2 of 5 on field goals, and had you not roughed the kicker on their first attempt, would have mattered. They would have missed that first field goal there at the end of the half instead of giving them another shot at a much closer distance. We also you pointed out, they had a slow start in Wyoming. Their first touchdown wasn't until 10:46 left in the third quarter. They scored once, and it was about that time, if not later, this week.
That was in the fourth quarter this week.
Yeah. And then this would be Texas Tech's first test of a dual threat quarterback with Dampier. And you contained him to a long of 7 yards on the ground.
Yeah, 2.5 yards per carry. But apparently he was hurt or something. What are your thoughts on all that? On the
feels revisionist?
Well, and I don't feel like it changes anything. I kind of agree with Utah. I mean, if they were going to play him no matter what, if he was limited in practice or not. I almost think if they'd have put him as doubtful, it would have been more difficult for Texas Tech staff to then evaluate whoever QB2 is and start to come up with a plan and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I feel like a really big deal got made out of it for some reason. I don't understand the rules, probably. But yeah, if all of a sudden you saw Dampier is probable. I think that was the technically correct term they should have used on their injury report. None of the fans would have really cared. They probably would have thought, oh, he's probably banged up a little bit, but of course he's going to play. But the coaches would have been, oh, crap, we better figure out who QB2 is and start looking at this. And I think it would have made prepping for Utah even harder. So thanks. Thanks for not disclosing it.
Do you think on the flip side, them not prepping for Will Hammond affected their defensive play?
It very well could have. And Hammond doesn't have a lot on tape this year. He's played a lot. He's taken a decent amount of snaps, but he hasn't thrown the ball very much. Excuse me.
Yeah, he's run quite a bit more than you would expect.
Right, because he's gone in up 48-0 or 35-7 or whatever, and so Tech's kind of putting on the brakes a little bit. So you haven't seen, now obviously there's some tape last year for him in high school, but I'm sure they were just as surprised to see him out there as we were.
Yeah, they were more surprised about
they were very
throwing acumen.
Well, I mean, his first three, you can't really call the first. I think he went in on like a 3rd and 23 or something on his first play after Morton went down. So I can't really call that a drive, but technically it is. So I think it was that drive, and then the next 2 were 3-and-outs or very quick drives. So it seemed like they had him handled, and then Hammond said no. No, you do not.
Yeah, use his legs a little bit. We talked about Adam Hill's skill set, about him being a player, a runner that seeks out contact, and how that times up well with when you'd expect to see Adam Hill in the game, at the end of the game when teams are gassed. I feel like bringing in a player, a quarterback like Will Hammond with fresh legs and that wants to run in a rock fight of a game, partway into the third quarter, also very advantageous timing for Texas Tech. Their defense had been doing decently well against the run, but we had the broadcast on both sides, the radio and TV broadcast, were pointing out like the Utah defense is getting worn down. They're gassed. They have hands on their hips. They're huffing and puffing over there. And then you put in a quarterback that is faster, more likely to run. Game plan is more set for him to run. And it just snowball on him. Oh, and by the way, he can throw dimes all over the field. So it's not like, okay, Hammond's in, let's load the box. Mm-mm.
Yeah, laser rocket arm back there. I wish. I mean, I think Morton could take a few lessons from Hammond if he's willing to give them. Maybe not fall face forward every time you run the ball. I think there's something. One of the guys I work with mentioned that today. It just or yesterday. How is he so bad at falling? When he does run the ball, it's just, okay, I'm going to land directly on my shoulder or on my back. Let's make this as bad as we possibly can. But whereas Hammond seems to kind of crumple up a little bit and knows how to go down and how to take a hit.
I think a lot of that probably has to do with that's not Morton's skill set. Is running the ball.
Why is he doing it?
Well, just because it's there. You got to take
the same
advantage
question.
If it's there, you take it.
Well, what was that?
He's just not.
Okay, hang on. No, it was not there. What was it? It was 2nd and 28 or something when he got hurt. It was
something
not there.
Like that, yeah. Well, he was escaping the pocket. He was.
To what? Punt it better?
I don't
give
know.
Burgess more room
through his head. I'm trying to give him benefit of the doubt, man. I don't know. I don't disagree with you. He could take some pointers on how to get to the ground more safely,
Yes.
especially after having been taken to the ground several times or taking a hit in the back. I think, well, okay, one, the hit he took where he fumbled the ball was clean. I think the hit he took on a handoff was 100% dirty. I saw that play again. I was like, I do not understand how two referees are sitting there in the offensive backfield, watch a quarterback hand the ball off, and then get demolished by a defensive end and not flag him for anything. Not necessarily roughness, targeting, it's not targeting, but the quarterback had his back turned, so you could argue defenseless, and he had handed the ball off. Then he gets hit. It wasn't like a read play. He had turned around as part of the play design he turned to the side to hand the ball off to Dickey. So Morton turned to his right. So turned his back to the left tackle, which is where John Henry Daly came from, handed the ball off to Dickey, and then he gets hit in the back. I don't know. I don't know how that one was allowed to stand. And then again, to your point, he went down awkwardly on that play where he ended up getting hurt, but also very clearly was giving himself up, and then he got hit. Like, no, he wasn't sliding, feet first and then, got taken out, by a spear shot across his face mask. But I think it's very obvious when somebody's going to the ground, when they're going to the ground and giving themselves up.
He got 10 yards on 2nd and 28. It was 3rd and 18 when Hammond came in, and they got a false start. Then it was 3rd and 23. That drive, I forgot how much of a cluster F that drive was. There was 3 penalties on that drive.
To open the third quarter?
Yes. Yeah. Goodness gracious.
Those penalties plus the hit, it was
just an absolute failure of a drive that I'm just completely flummoxed that Texas Tech recovered from. And then in the way in which they recovered is still impressive to me.
Yeah, defense hung around.
I may rewatch that 4th quarter again tonight before I go to bed.
Well, what you'll see is Will Hammond, Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week and Freshman of the Week, ball out. You'll also see, Jacob Rodriguez put a game together start to finish, but he was Defensive Player of the Week. And a relatively new addition to the recognitions of the week from the Big 12, offensive and defensive lines. Your defensive line was named Defensive Line of the Week. So
yay.
You had Offensive Player of the Week, Defensive Player of the Week, Freshman of the Week, and Defensive Line of the Week. The one position group you didn't get was offensive line, and they had a long way to go to even be considered for that one with the 7 false starts and other penalties. I don't even remember all the other penalties they had. The other thing I want to talk about before we talk specifically anymore about offense or defense or penalties, whatever. I am constantly impressed, Michael, that us Red Raider fans can take a perceived slight, ingest it, take it all in, make it a part of our beings, spit it back out, and have it be part of our collective consciousness. Right? Tortillas comes to mind. There's nothing out there but except for dust and Texas Tech and tortillas or whatever the comment was. Now has come to be one of our most prized traditions, throwing tortillas, right? The offhanded comment from a jealous staff member at TCU a couple years ago about not buying into the hype and the NLI, not NLI, the NIL and marketing caps out there in the desert. And then you get the wave of everybody that has cactus emojis and their Twitter handles still to this day. And now Chris Level of the Locked On Texas Tech podcast got clipped. He got clipped, right? Like he said, you could go into Salt Lake and you could thump them. That's where it was. The edit was made. The rest of the context of that quote was like, they could also thump you. But what did you see the past 72 hours, Michael? Is that Texas Tech thumped Utah.
I even saw it from Utah fans.
Yeah.
I saw some Utah fans admit it. Like, man, we got thumped.
They try to take
it spread to everywhere.
It spreads. Speaking of it spreads, Michael, you did a tweet. You got picked up by one of those news aggregate headline aggregate sites.
It's on this same vein. My tweet was kind of insinuating that why is it of these top 10 teams that are supposedly the biggest spenders in NIL, of which Texas Tech was number 2 on the list. A lot of other schools on that list are Texas, A&M, Oregon, Auburn,
LSU,
Tennessee,
Ohio State,
Miami. But I don't recall watching. I'll backtrack here after I say this. I don't recall watching other teams endure quite as much of a show of the NIL payroll that Texas Tech has lately. I get that it's recency bias. I get that it's new. I get that, Texas Tech is part of pushing that down the road. But, Miami spent $4 million on Carson Beck, and I don't think that gets brought up very much. I do remember when A&M really went whole hog 3 or 4 years ago. That was everywhere. So I had some guys in my mentions reminding me of that, and I agree that was, but they were still doing it. I think they spent $50 million this year in NIL, and Tech spent 30. But because they did it a few years ago and already kind of went through the hazing, I guess it's not really discussed as much. I had some Oregon fans say, you have no idea. That's all that was talked about before the Oklahoma State game. Well, maybe, I don't know. I don't follow the Ducks. I think I still have it pretty fresh in my mind from the whole Nigeria Kennedy deal and softball and the girl with the golden arm or whatever Beth Mowins would say and just all that crap. So I threw that out there, and a lot of people kind of felt the same way. Seems like it sure gets mentioned a lot, whereas I doubt if you tuned into a Tennessee game, they're going to talk about the money they spend in NIL. Just an observation. A lot of people put a lot of words in my mouth about that observation, which was fun to read through. I chose not to respond to most of them.
It's one of those things like you say it and then you're like, I don't really want to engage with anybody.
It's exactly it. Like, man, I was just shouting into the void, and then the void shouted back like, oh crap. Oops. So yeah, that's kind of in that same vein. Taking a perceived slight, sometimes perceived, and flipping it on its head. And that's actually what one of the guys suggested we do. John Kurtz, I believe, who covers the Big 12, has a great newsletter. If y'all haven't signed up for it, weekly YouTubes, all that kind of stuff. No free ads, but anyway, his retweet was something along the lines of, "Well, Texas Tech fans should just absolutely own this," and I think that's where we're headed, and I'm okay with that too. But I still just like to point out that, hey, this seems weird to mention it every time, every pick'em, every round of talking heads on a TV picking games when Texas Tech gets brought up. at least someone mentions it. And then during the broadcast, I just don't understand it during the broadcast, especially.
I loved your response to one of the trolls on your tweet. They said, "Oh, what did he say? It takes a lot of money to get people to move to Lubbock."
Oh, yeah.
And then you replied with this GIF. I don't know if anybody's gonna be able to see it with the phone, but
Yeah. It's the gif of the kid. It's like, I just knew one of those was going to show up. And of course, it was an Aggie fan. There were a lot of Aggies in there, but, honestly, half of them were reasonable and said stuff like, hey, it means you're making waves. It's okay. And B, we went through the same thing. And I was like, yeah, y'all did. I acknowledge that. They totally did. Because I remember being one of them. And then there was another guy who had it was saying that, well, Texas Tech's the one that keeps bringing up the amount, but he had like Jimbo's buyout number in his Twitter handle. It's like, well, I didn't respond to him afterwards because it's not like he's Texas A&M, because Texas Tech does bring it up themselves. So I was looking at the logic behind that, and I thought, but I did have a couple of spouted off like, well, who's the guy spouting Jimbo's buyout in his damn Twitter handle, bringing up money?
yeah.
Anyway. All right, let's go and talk actual footballs.
Yeah. So speaking of footballs, I want to talk about quarterbacks. I spent a lot of Saturday irritated with a very small number of throws, the interceptions, and just, I guess, general incompletions. And then I thought about it some more. I was like, well, between the two quarterbacks, there were 10 total incompletions. And that includes throwaways, includes the interceptions, includes the throw to Virgil that was reviewed and should have been a catch. And then I was trying to be very mindful and acknowledging that, like, we're complaining about the football being a foot maybe out of position, hundreds of feet away from where it was released, where 20 other players on the field are moving at the same time, trying to impact the throw, the catch, whatever. I was like, I can't really complain.
Well,
Like,
and this is all while at least 3 or 4 guys are trying to kill the guy throwing the football.
yeah. I think back to that first interception where it was a back shoulder throw and it went off the defender's helmet. I was like, well, was that like one step too far for CD before he turned around? Should it have been a penalty? Could the ball have been like,
Yeah.
maybe any or all those things or some kind of combination? But I was like, do I fault Morton? I have a hard time finding any fault with that. And then I thought about the Aiken interception, and I watched the slow-mo. It's like, I mean, when he cut to the outside, like, did he take one too many steps to the outside? Maybe. Did he have his hands on the ball? Like, he was in a more of a defensive position than the cornerback there. Do I fault Morton? It's like, I have a hard time finding fault with like either of those guys. But if I was going to lay blame to anybody, I was like, I think that's more on Aiken. So anyways, it's just like, we criticize quarterbacks because of like their mistakes, but they were like way more good plays and good throws and good decisions than there were bad ones. So
I think so
let's
too.
go back to that.
And you pair that with it doesn't help that Hammond came in and played out of his mind.
Mhm.
I also don't think it's fair to expect him to do that every single time he's out there. He obviously can. We just saw it. We've seen bits and pieces of that before. But I agree with you. It's not as cut and dried as, well, there you go. There's your starter. I see your next point here. Your QB controversy.
I mean, I'm not going to drum up any kind of like fake conflict between us, Michael.
We only bring up the real stuff.
It's not a thing, right? There's no controversy here. People calling for Hammond are, again, prisoners of the moment.
I think there's a lot of that.
Dang good when he's healthy and not running for his life. Like that set of circumstances that had him playing the way he was playing, unlikely to be duplicated the rest of the season. Duplicated. Assuming he's healthy and responds to this and is able to come back. Granted, he's got 2 weeks to recover, which is fantastic news. Soreness, maybe a headache, slight concussion. It doesn't even matter. Like he's got 2 weeks to figure it out and to be working on it, and to be coming back, whatever. This is still 100% Morton's team. Yes, there were a lot of buy-in and support for Hammond when he came in, but it doesn't mean like the team turned on Morton.
Right. It's not a mutiny. No one's walking the plank later. No one left Morton at the airport. I mean, I don't get it. The same point that you've made and that we've discussed and that others have made about Utah's defense being gassed just happens to coincide with Will Hammond tearing them a new one. So who's to say that Morton wouldn't have been able to do that in the next drive or two?
Yeah, it may have been him doing it.
You can't say that. I mean, you don't want to take anything away from what Hammond did. That is not at all what I'm trying to do, because the young man came in on the road, moments noticed, with 3rd and 28, and then played the rest of the game. So, and he did lights out, and he had 3 incompletions doing it. And he was 4 or 5 on plays 15 yards down the field. I mean, fantastic play. But those are things that, hey, if Morton had been able to have a shot against these guys when they wore out, we might have seen a little bit better day from him. We'll just never know.
I also very much appreciated that we've seen a rotation, or just not a transition, but like there's always somebody stepping up from the wide receiver group, from the top 3, 4 really. And this game, it felt very much like it was CD's, like it was Caleb Douglas. It was his game to shine. He had that just monster catch over the middle, over 2 guys, snatched it on 3rd and whatever it was. I think it was the drive that Hammond really got going. Then that sideline throw after, fingertip drop to go right back to him. Man, it was they were absolute moments in that game where, had he not showed up, you would have really been like, man, our wide receivers just vanished in a moment. But other games, it's been Virgil. Other games, it's been Aiken. It's been Terrence Carter a lot. He had a drop in the end zone where also Aiken was wide open. Like we could have been talking about a very different outcome of this game. Not different outcome. We would have a very different opinion on the receivers outside of, Caleb Douglas. Had one of those 2 guys caught that pass. But it was fantastic. He had a great game. When the other 2 guys or 3 guys, because Terrence Carter was on the sideline for a little bit with treatment, stepped up. The other thing I want to touch on offensively, that touchdown to Terrence Carter came out of a 2-back set, Michael. And it was just something we're seeing. We heard about it. Obviously, we were clamoring for it with the running back depth preseason. Want to see more of this with the guys you have, their skill sets. That fake screen wheel route release, whatever you call it, to Terrence Carter came from a 2-back set, and it was just a thing of beauty. I really love the versatility that you can get with play calling options out of that 21 personnel grouping with Dickey, Jacoby Williams, Terrence Carter, all in the field. Plus, you get guys like CD or Aiken and Virgil, like a two of three of those outside guys on the field, plus the 21 personnel grouping. It's just like, pick your poison. Like, who are you going to focus on? Because you're going to be wrong.
Are you telling me you want to change the name of the podcast?
No, I still love the goal line set. I love 23 personnel, and I also love the connection back to 1923. So, but 21 personnel with this skill set of receivers is becoming a new favorite. Anything else you want to touch on with penalties for you? Talk about Stones, Harrington.
I feel like we already kind of brought up the penalties. It's bad. They got to fix it. Figured out. All
right. We mentioned Stone Harrington being a dude, 58-yard field goal. Reset his career long by 11 yards, and it was good for another 5+ yards. The other thing I mentioned, or that I was looking at, was his touchback, and how he essentially just removes that play from the game entirely. The kick return against you doesn't happen. With and without the wind, yes, he was at elevation, but not that much different from Lubbock. Obviously, we talked about that a lot. None of the kickoffs landed in the end zone. I think maybe one. Everything else was outside of the end zone or being caught by the equipment staff, between the back of the end zone and the stands. Like, he's just destroying the ball with his foot very quietly. Ho-hum. The other team gets a touchback, starts, on the 25-yard line. But there's no question of all right, is our coverage team going to lapse and give up a big play here? It's like, it just doesn't even happen.
Yeah.
We kick the ball off.
He's just going to boot it into this end zone, out of the end zone.
Into the stands at some point. He leads the conference in touchbacks. Granted, a lot of this has to do with the number of kicks and opportunities he has.
Fair.
He has 29 touchbacks. Next leading kicker has 22. I know they mentioned earlier in the season that there were a couple of times that he was intentionally not kicking it out of the end zone to look at the return team. Why even bother with that? Just kick the ball to the back of the end zone. Just put on 25. Let's go. So, anything else?
No, I'm ready. I'm ready to shift gears to wherever we're heading next.
So there's not a weekly press conference on weeks without a game. So there was no press conference on Monday. I thought about putting together some questions. One I already touched on, essentially one of them from McGuire. Like, if we were to ask the coaching staff something, what would it be? And this is kind of tongue in cheek, a little facetious, but what I would want to know from Coach McGuire is, what did the Big 12 say when you asked them about the hits on Morton that I'm sure you sent up for their interpretation, namely the hit from Daly after the handoff, which we talked about, that was on a read play, and the dive at a running quarterback who had given himself up and was going to the ground. What did the Big 12 say about those hits? Those legal hits? There's something that need to be addressed, evaluated better, judgment need to be applied there. The other thing I wanted to ask, I don't know if you got any questions for Coach McGuire, but What is the message when you get, you call in your offensive coordinator and your two quarterbacks into your office? What does that conversation look like? What are you saying to the guys? What's the message there?
Yeah, how to embrace the moment. What are they going to be asked to do, expected to do? Yeah, that'd be a great question.
Because I think
I saw you add this here. I couldn't think of any questions. I liked yours. I copped out.
I think setting it up that way, like we're gonna have like a very tough conversation with Baron Morton. I think maybe the tough conversation would be with Hammond, like, hey, you balled out, you did fantastic, you helped us win that game. Keep your eyes on helping us achieve our overall goals. Like, if Morton's good to go, he's still the starting quarterback. Like, that's a tough conversation. As much as it is to look at Morton and say, hey, you're injured, we're gonna go with this other guy, or you're not cutting it, we're gonna go with this other guy.
Right. It more of maybe along the lines of, look what you can do. We believed you can do it. You believed you can do it. Let's do it the next 3 years.
Yeah, let's continue to be ready if and when you have to step in at a moment's notice, whether it's game plan, play calling, or Morton continues to have injury issues, however you want to phrase that. The other thing I think would be more of a snarkier question. This would be directed towards Coach Leftwich. One, have you used different snap counts and cadences before? And two, how would that be addressed moving forward? Because obviously, like, you went into a place that was known to be loud. Apparently, they had asked around other coaching staffs what they had done. And I don't know if they disregarded it or believed too much of what they were told. But it, at least to me, very clear that they did not prepare or practice a secondary cadence. And they continued to rack up false start penalties because there was no other way they were snapping the ball. Okay, that's in the past. What are you doing about it now?
Yes,
Because
I feel like
you have more road games to play.
This has to be addressed. Absolutely has to be addressed. It would be the first thing everyone talks about if Tech hadn't won. That'd be the first thing everybody would be talking about is, what are we doing with the false starts, the penalties? And still, us and a lot of you listening are thinking just that. Yeah, well, that's great. Tech won by 24 on the road. That's huge with a backup quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
But these penalties, really, it's amazing that they didn't cost Texas Tech the game.
Yeah, you won almost in spite of them.
In spite of them, exactly. That was kind of like the Mike Leach way of just, yeah, okay, whatever. We're going to get 14.
We'll deal with it.
We'll deal with it. That was the Kingsbury way too, but Kingsbury's defense could never back him up.
No.
At least, Leach got to where he had defenses that could back him up a little bit with some of these penalties. But anyway, I just was, it was very frustrating, and I don't want to ignore it. I don't think it'd be snarky to ask that. And I'm sure on Monday when they have media availability, someone will ask him that. Going into a hostile Houston environment.
So that was the point I was going to bring up. Like, okay, this is a perfect time to install something. Because one, you've got 2 weeks to do it. Two, you're on the road again. And three, it actually won't be that hostile environment. So like you get to test it out. And like work through the kinks. Yeah, like it's a small environment that may be close to 50-50 on Houston fans versus your fans. It won't be 50-50, but like it will not be 95-5 in a much larger stadium in Salt Lake.
With fans who are notoriously known for their decibel level. I mean, it's it was an awful recipe, and we served up a crappy dish. So hopefully that's got to get addressed or fixed. There's got to be a second option something other than the clap, which sounds out of context. let's just not go out there with the clap, everybody. It's not good.
You need something else. All right.
You need something else. You need to protect yourself from the clap.
I didn't have it written down. My question for Coach would be like, what else do you want? What else can we do for you, man? You want to raise now? Let's figure that out. Let's find it in the budget. Let's keep you here.
Let's get an extension.
Does your wife need a new car? Does your kids need new work? Like, what do you need, man? What do you want? Don't leave. All right, let's look around the rest of Big 12 and chop that up. Friday night, Tulsa, we talked about this. Tulsa won at Oklahoma State, first time since 50 something. And it happened, Michael. Mike Gundy got fired today. On Tuesday, September 23rd. Effective immediately.
Floored. Absolutely floored. Cannot believe it. I think this is going to set them back a decade.
Are you playing the role of... I'm sorry. Was that Joel Klatt that said that?
No, I'm being serious. I think Klatt was doing all I've seen today. Rob Bro reworded Klatt's tweet about Matt Wells.
Yeah.
And sent it, which was beautiful. It was a great tweet. But my thought, I mean, this is how I've always, not always, but I don't know, the last decade, anytime Oklahoma State would quote unquote only win 8 games or 9, or even when they would win 10 or 11 games, they wouldn't beat OU, or there'd be some other thing, and then they would start calling for Gundy's head. And every time I thought, you are going to get what you wish for someday, and you are not going to like it. And even though their recent successes, their recent seasons have just been dirt awful. This season's started off awful. 1-2, the losses you mentioned to Tulsa, there's a complete depantsing blowout by Oregon, who actually had a tougher time against Oregon State. I think that you're just not, they're not appreciating the full picture of what the man was able to do and what I think he can probably still do. I know the NIL thing is weird. We're seeing, Dabo kind of get the same questioning, and these two guys seem to be cut from similar cloths. So there could be some correlation there. But anyway, I just feel like the way they fired him. I mean, coaches will go wherever if the check's clear. But it would make me think twice. You've got your 20-something seasoned former quarterback who I wish I could look it up. I did not go into my Mike Gundy stats, but his first few years were pretty rough. But I would say 12 of the last 15 seasons, he probably averaged 8 or 9 wins a year, something around that line. Close.
At least, yeah.
I mean, you've got a guy like that, and you fire him on a Tuesday. You don't let him finish out the year. That's a bad look. That's 100% a bad look. He's a legacy coach. He's a Hall of Fame coach. He's a guy that you will want his name somewhere on something someday. I don't know if you're going to get it now, and if you do, he's not going to show up. So I'm just floored by the whole thing. I feel like if they were going to do it, they should have done it in the off season. If that was even on the table, even a possibility, they should have done it then. But to do it now, man, I get it, but I also don't. I get it if he's your third-year coach who kicks field goals on second down. He's not. He's your 20-something year tenured, most successful coach of all time at your school. Put him on the map. Not I mean, obviously Oklahoma State's had really good players. But in the recent college football history, he has put them on the map. I just think everyone that wished for it and wanted it is going to really regret it. Except for me, I think it's great for Texas Tech.
Because
absolutely.
Here's
I've wanted him fired for years.
Yeah, hard lesson you learn is like you don't know the next guy's going to be any better, or not going to make it, even worse.
Well, that's like what we. I think we went through this with Oklahoma. They just got used to Stoops. Stoops was there forever. Riley was there forever. Not forever. He was there forever and then took over. And then all of a sudden he was gone. And Oklahoma struggled. Mighty Oklahoma. Looks like they might have figured something out this year. It's kind of early.
Well,
but Venables he had very lackluster opening seasons. And they hadn't been through a coaching search. Oklahoma State, same deal. Oklahoma hadn't gone through a coaching search since 1999. And Oklahoma State's what? 2003 was the last time they did a coach. Do they even remember how to do it? Do they have anybody there who's ever done one?
So he was promoted.
Good luck. Enjoy this. Oh, he was promoted?
Yeah, he was their offensive coordinator under Les Miles, I believe.
So they didn't even have to do one then?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Have fun. We've done it. We've done our share. They suck.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to wait until
to enjoy it.
Yeah, you're probably gonna have to wait until late November, December before you can get anybody.
Unless you do hire Les Miles, round 2. That's the thing in the Big 12. Bring them back. Run it back. Sorry, I don't know if you expected that much. But I had some thoughts. On the whole Gundy situation.
I want to go through the other games and give just a little bit more context of what happened. Now that I was able to go back and look at some of these and watch some highlights. And SMU and TCU, obviously TCU wins 35-24, and they're now 3-0. We're not going to play them this season unless you meet them in the Big 12 title game, but they have a dude at wide receiver, Mike. Would you watch any of the highlights? Eric McAllister, 254 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns on 8 catches.
Yikes.
It's 32 yards per catch.
That'll get it done, man.
UCF absolutely depantsed Belichick and UNC 34-9. Is he in hot water after only 3 games?
Nah, he's good. He's got enough Super Bowl rings to at least get him through year 1.
Sorry, I guess before we get too far away from Oklahoma State, there are a few comments we should touch on.
Oh, okay.
Steve says they just cost themselves more money and open themselves to immediate transfers. Yeah, anybody on that roster that's any good is now has a 30-day window.
I mean, the 4.5-hour drive from Stillwater to Lubbock. Come on down. Come on down.
It doesn't make sense unless there's a solid candidate. Yeah, I don't know who. Like I don't.
Right. To replace a guy like that, to replace a statue guy. I mean, the closest thing we've seen, I guess, Patterson when he finally got canned. But
the guy after guy is typically not good, but Dykes has been, I guess, the exception there for a while.
Well, I mean, he went to the national championship year 1. That I know a lot of that was just some luck, but hey, he was at the helm. But yeah, I'm not. I guess Patterson's the closest thing we could come up with, or that I could come up with, an actual statue level guy that gets canned. But I can't remember the circumstances of Patterson. I wish I'd thought of that before we started recording. I think it was mid-season too, though, wasn't it? But I think it had been more of a slower trajectory.
I would say it was slower for Oklahoma State. They've been talking about this for a long time. Like it felt like Patterson's kind of bubbled up in the past year or year and a half of his tenure there, but
Patterson was fired on Halloween of 2021. So a little bit later in the season, but it was during the middle of the season.
yeah. All right. And then Aaron says, I can't wait for Oklahoma State's decade in the wilderness.
Oh, that's it. They're going to be out there hoping that manna falls from somewhere, and it ain't going to happen.
I mean, who's out there for him? Dana Holgerson?
Yeah. Yep.
I guess Cheel Wood.
Maybe Matt Rule.
Mac Leftwich.
By the end of the year.
Do you think they like Gundy really didn't hire Zach Robinson to come back to be their OC so they wouldn't tab him to take over for him? That they like literally went after Meacham because he wasn't gonna be a head coach. Because like if they fired Gundy, there wasn't anybody there to take over for him.
It's possible.
Buy into that.
Maybe they should do like Tech always does when these type of things come up, and they go after the Tulsa head coach.
Well, that or somebody with Oklahoma State ties. Who's coaching or is has some kind of tenuous connection to Oklahoma State? You could, I mean, obviously there's Zach Robinson, but is Brandon Whedon around somewhere?
He's still playing baseball?
Is Des Bryant wearing a headset somewhere?
I do think that there could be something to that. Okay, well, because I remember that's who Texas Tech fans wanted to hire after Stephen F. Austin took us to the wire. I can't remember that coach's name, but he was on some lists.
Is that the guy from?
I think he might have gone to Tech.
Kent State. The OC that was like from Shallow Water. I don't remember. All right. Good luck, Cowboys. That's all I gotta say.
Yep.
West Virginia at Kansas.
Colby Carthel.
Oh yeah. West Virginia comes down to earth a little bit after their game against Pitt. No pass game. The quarterbacks went 17 of 31 for 142 yards. That is less than 10 yards per catch, like less than 5 yards per attempt, 182 rushing yards, which is not bad, but if that's the only thing you have on 4.5 yards per carry, it's like that's not going to do enough to carry you. Obviously, when they only score 10 points. BYU 3-0. I think the big thing here is another team with a stout defense. Like you look at some of the conference defensive statistics. Their defense gave up their first touchdown of the season. They had 2 interceptions. I think they were back to back. One of them being a pick six. Granted, it was from the 1, so they didn't have to go very far. Still, pick six is a pick six. To rout ECU, and they were, a touchdown favorite, and they ended up winning by 21. Arizona State, man, Baylor had a shot here. They tied the game with 1:52 left. Arizona State then drove down to kick the walk-off field goal. Their kicker was 4 for 4 in the day. And then in the postgame said that he didn't even look. He didn't even watch the ball go through the uprights because he said he just knew it. He hit it. He knew it. Well, props to you, man. Colorado may be figuring out their quarterback issues. Caden Salter back in at starter, was responsible for 4 touchdowns, 3 through the air, 1 on the ground. Kind of a slow start, then a uninspired finish. They didn't score their first touchdown until halfway through the second quarter, and then allowed 17 points late to Wyoming. It was they still won by 17, but like that could have looked a whole lot different had their defense not kind of relaxed a little bit, and given up 17 late points. Because Wyoming at that point was not going to come back to win that game. But that game could have been 37-10, 37-7. Like, okay, wow, it was pretty impressive. And then not that a 17-point win is not impressive, but it could have been a 30-point win. Anyways,
I have a little bit, because apparently this is my Super Bowl tonight. I have a little bit more context behind when Patterson was fired.
okay.
So we mentioned he was fired in the middle of the 2021 season.
Mm-hmm.
The 3 seasons before that. Well, let me go back 4 seasons. So in 2017, TCU was 11-3. Pretty good year.
Yeah.
And then 2018, 7-6. Then they went 5-7. Then they went 6-4 during the COVID year. And then at the time he was fired in 2021, they were 3-5. So, okay, COVID year, yeah, whatever. But there were, and before in 2016, before his 11-3 year, he was 6-7. So out of his last complete seasons, he won either 5, 6, or 7 games 4 times. And then there was that 11 game win. Prior to that, I mean, he had 11-2, 12-1, 4-8, 7-6, 11-2, 13-0, 12-1, 11-2. I mean, he had a lot of great seasons, obviously. Gundy's is even, I don't know if I'd say more impressive, but close. So going back to 2015, we're going 10-3, 10-3, 10-3, 7-6, 8-5, 8-3 during the COVID year, which was awesome. 12-2, 7-6 in 2022, 10-4 in 2023. So just 2 seasons ago. Two seasons ago. Last year, 3-9, they were awful. They were 0-9 in Big 12 play. Everyone knows this. And then they can him going 1-2 to start this year. That seems like a very short leash to me. Patterson, you could kind of see a trend of average. Yeah, going from 10 wins to 3 wins to 1-3 to start is obviously not great.
Mm-hmm.
But that type of thing happens with programs. And they do bounce back. We've seen Baylor do it multiple times. It's sickening.
Hopefully they don't this year.
Yeah, hopefully it's not this year. Okay, I'm done. I'm done talking about
Last Sunrise says BYU is the team I worry about. They always play really hard. Yeah. I think if we're gonna talk about the schedule coming up. I think for the teams that concern me on this schedule, I would flip my preseason concern from Kansas State to BYU. So
I agree, and I think I think Kansas is moving up a little bit too, just a little. And Houston's
got good defense.
Yep. Well, and
no offense.
They're outscoring people.
Well, you sure to win games.
Well, I know, but they were close with Colorado there for up until the third quarter. I think they opened it up just a little bit. I'm not going to say that they, demolished Colorado or whatever, but they won comfortably. I mean, every single game they've won by multiple scores.
Yeah. All right. The other games we had in our preview, Oklahoma and Auburn. Only thing I want to touch on is there was a misinterpretation of a rule. They had a player that looked like he was going to go out of bounds and be subbed off, didn't, left wide open for a touchdown. They came back and said that should not have been a play. It should have been flagged for that. But also John Mateer, Oklahoma quarterback, is going to miss several weeks with a hand injury. Apparently he had surgery today. Took a huge shot in his Heisman odds. Like, well, no-ish, Sherlock. He's going to miss 3 weeks or whatever it is going to be with hand surgery. Michigan at Nebraska. I found the differences in the rushing games just fascinating. I want to point them out. Michigan had 290 yards on the ground on 31 carries at 9.4 yards per carry and 3 touchdowns. That sounds a lot like the Texas Tech Arkansas game from 2014.
Oh gosh.
Nebraska, 31 carries, but only 43 yards. So 1.4 yards per carry. And it was a 3-point game, Michael.
Yeah. Good job, Nebraska, somehow hanging into that when you couldn't run the ball.
Yeah. We talked about Florida, Miami, because game day was there. Miami had a slow start. But that defense is ridiculous, or at least combination of the Miami defense and the Florida offense. Florida only had 140 offensive yards. Their quarterback went 12 of 23 for 61 yards. It's 2.7 yards per attempt and 80 yards on the ground on 29 carries. It's less than 3 yards per carry. Yikes. And we also talked about Illinois and Indiana. Indiana absolutely demolished Illinois 63-10. Fernando Mendoza, yes, that one from Cal that you defeated pretty handily. And whatever bowl game it was a couple years ago, he went
Shreveport
21.
Bowl. I don't know.
Is it Independence Bowl?
Yeah, that sounds right.
21 for 23, 21 of 23, 267 yards, 5 touchdowns. He also ran for 312 yards on 49 carries at 6.5 yards a pop, 3 touchdowns. Also had a blocked punt, scoop and score. Everything went their way.
Things are going Tech's way in the polls. I figured I'll run through that update real quick. So Texas Tech moved up in the AP poll. We'll start there. Previously number 17, moved up to number 12 this week. And as far as the rest of the Big 12, Iowa State, that bumped them down. They had to make room for Texas Tech during their bye week, unfortunately. So sorry about you there, Cyclones. Iowa State, previously number 12, now 14. TCU, previously unranked, they show up at 24. BYU, also unranked, they are now in at 25. And so, magically, the discourse during Saturday was Texas Tech doesn't have another ranked opponent on their schedule. Well, okay, wow. Then the next day they did. It's crazy. It's crazy how that stuff works out. Utah obviously dropped out. They were 16 when they fell to the Red Raiders up in Salt Lake. Notre Dame, good for them. I mean, they beat the Boilermakers. They're now 1-2. They got their first win of the year. Almost, it was not quite fall, but pretty darn close. Finally got their first win. They moved up from 24 to 22, and they are ahead of 3-win teams. I still just am marveled by the audacity of it all. Receiving votes concerning the Big 12. Utah is still receiving votes. Arizona State is, and so is UCF, which surprises me a little, but they are 3-0. The coaches poll, very similar. Iowa State actually was 13 last week. They stayed 13. Texas Tech moved from 16 to 14. And BYU and TCU, just like the AP poll, previously unranked, came in at 24 and 25 respectively. Utah is out. They were 18 in the coaches poll. And now we are ready to run through our mid-season, quarter season, third season check-in. Third season check-in of Tech around the Big 12. I like what you've got here, Spencer. So what we're going to do is start with where we were right with Tech predictions and Big 12 predictions, and then end with where we were wrong with both of those same things. And I can start. We'll start with the sugar, and then we'll give the salt later. So where we were right, which apparently is hard for me to say. I had Texas Tech going 4-0 this stretch, and they did it. The other thing that I thought that we would see these first few games was pressure on the opposing quarterback. I was almost willing it into existence. I was trying to say it out loud whenever I was given the chance. We have seen that. The other thing I wanted to point out, it's really not technically me being right, but I knew that Mac Leftwich's goal coming out of the offseason was to capitalize on big plays and kind of make that more of a part of their offense. Doing it wisely, doing it in good timings, good matchups, and they have absolutely done that. It's been a lot of fun to watch this offense crank out a random 25-yard pass and take it to the house. So that's not something we'd seen as much in the last couple of years, or I don't feel that we have, or they were just poorly thrown balls that had no chance of being caught, or were just only sideline passes. Felt like that was the only option. So anyway, that's where I felt like I was right.
I also had Texas Tech at 4-0 through this stretch. I wanted to be right about the defense coming together. And I think we had a lot of high hopes for the transfers and the roster reconstruction working, and I wanted it to work. So I won't take credit. I won't say like I was right there. But that was something I was wanting to see. Big 12 wise, I'm a lot more scattered here on where I was right. We were right, like exactly right on record so far, for at least for me at Arizona. I had them at 3-1. Michael had them at 4-0. We were close there. We were obviously dead on with Texas Tech. We were, well, I was right on with Utah, Michael, at 3-1.
You were, yeah. I'll get it. That's obviously going to be where I was wrong. So yeah,
we were both right on Kansas being 3-1. Michael, you were right on with Colorado being 2-2. I was right on with Cincinnati being 2-1. You had them at 3-0. So just one game off there. We all had Houston at 3-0 through the first three. We were correct on West Virginia being 2-2. And that's all of the rights that we had. I think overall, Iowa State, that feels like they've been kind of, with them having this past week off and all of our attention being elsewhere the past couple of weeks, like it feels like we haven't heard from them in a while, but like they're absolutely so far taking care of what they're supposed to be doing. And Arizona State, while they have lost, they're still winning games.
Yeah.
We had it 3-1 and 4-0, and they're at 3-1. So
yeah, and the game they lost was a crazy last second touchdown on the road.
Mm-hmm.
In the toughest football conference that exists in the United States of America. Yeah. Anyway, so
yeah.
So they lost a road game. It happens.
I mean, we could spend a whole lot more time on where we were right, though, Michael. I mean, I do think so. We should keep this moving and get to what the people really want to know is where we were wrong.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. I will offer up first because it's fine. I'll go ahead. I thought Reggie Virgil was going to be more of a big play threat than he's been so far. Doesn't mean he can't be at the end of the season. We knew his numbers coming in from Ohio, well, we'll see if that will translate, and they're not. He's been a fantastic receiver. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely want him on my team. But when he came in, averaging whatever it was he was averaging,
it was almost 20 yards of reception, Spencer. That was probably going to come down just a little.
Well, he's averaging 12 now.
Yeah.
which is ho hum. I mean, that's just not what I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
Related, I guess all three of this got related to pass catchers. I thought the order of receivers based on their impact was going to basically be inverse of what they are. I thought Caleb Douglas was going to be number one receiver, hands down. Virgil 2 with his big playability, and then Aiken 3 being the sure-handed guy in the slot, learning a new position and just catching whatever is thrown his way if the defense has decided to focus on Douglas or Virgil. And it's been basically opposite of that. I also didn't know what to expect or how to project Terrence Carter's impact, but oh my goodness, he's blown me out of the water in such a good way. So that's where I was wrong for Texas Tech.
Yeah, I could echo the Terrence Carter thing. I just knew how athletic he was, and I remember talking about him after getting to see that first game live. It's like, who's this quick inside slant guy we have? Because in the stadium, I just couldn't. Anyway, I couldn't tell how that was our tight end, how massive he is because of how fast he can move. The things I did, I've got three things too. So I underestimated Jacoby Williams' power as a runner.
Yep.
You know, he always struck me as a really, speed-driven guy, a guy who's going to shake people, a guy who's going to make you miss just because you can't catch him, but not necessarily someone who could run through contact or who could churn through a pile or something like that. And I've been proven wrong on that several times. The man has some pop. And the other thing that I've really liked about him is that he is getting involved in the passing game. He's actually our third leading receiver in number of receptions. He's got 13 receptions. He's tied with Terrence Carter Jr. for the year. So really like everything about Jacoby Williams. I never thought, I never thought bad about him. I just am impressed to see the running style that he has with the speed that he has, also show off the power that he has that I, underestimated. Speaking of underestimating, did not fully grasp how dominant this defensive line can be.
Yeah.
My goodness. And, you mentioned it before. We all had the makings of it. It was discussed in the offseason. The pieces were there. These individuals brought in from different schools, maybe playing slightly different positions, slightly different schemes. You just never know how it's going to work. Wow. This has been a lot of fun to watch through 4 games. I hope we'll still feel this way when we probably do this next check-in on the next bye week. But I think that's one of the things that I don't know if I don't know if I'd say I was wrong about, but I was probably a little pessimistic or guarding guarding myself a little bit, like, well, they're going to be good, but you can't expect them to just game one get out there. And no, you can actually. You can expect them game one to just completely demolish the quarterback every chance they get. You can expect them game 4 in their first road trip ever to force a rushing quarterback to 2.5 yards per carry. You can expect that. So, wow. The other thing, I'm not going to go too far into it because I've harped enough about it already on this episode, but I thought penalties would be better. They're awful. They're terrible. They got to get fixed. We can move on.
Okay. Where I was wrong in the Big 12, Michael, 4 teams, essentially. Kansas State, I thought they would be better. Iowa State, I didn't think they would be this good. Baylor, I thought would be better. TCU, I didn't think was going to be this good. So 2 up and 2 down. Also, I did not anticipate or expect the Big 12 defenses to be having the resurgence they are. In so much that Texas Tech giving up 11 points per game is good for only 5th best scoring defense in the conference.
Wow. Well, I was wrong also about Kansas State, because even though I wasn't very high on them, I had them at 3-1 at this point. I had them winning in Dublin, which brings me to my next team. Same as you, I was wrong about Iowa State. I had them 2-2 at this point in the year, losing in Dublin, and I believe losing to Iowa. They are obviously 4-0. I was also wrong about Utah because I was just kind of trying to will it into existence that they wouldn't be very good. But they started out 3-0. I had them going 1-3 in this stretch, with their only win versus Cal Poly. So very wrong on the Utah Utes.
You wanted to manifest it. I'm here for it.
That was kind of where I was at, and it really helped when you're picking 16 teams and doing all the games. It just kind of made things work out for me in other places. Oklahoma State, I said I was going to stop talking about them, so I will, but I'm just going to point out I had them at 2-1 at this point. I did have them 7-5 overall, so I wasn't expecting them to just be fantastic this year after their 3-9 win, but I did not expect them to get embarrassed like they did by Oregon, only to lose to Tulsa after a bye week and then fire their legendary best coach ever.
I'm so fascinated to see how this works out for him.
Me too. I'm glad it's not us. Your turn, Oklahoma State. You got kids who could rent rental cars, who have never seen a team not coached by Mike Gundy.
Yeah. All right, let's look at the Big 12 schedule this weekend. Sneaky good schedule, at least in my mind, for games.
Yes, absolutely. This Big 12 schedule looks almost. I mean, there's a handful outside of it, but the Big 12 schedule looks fantastic.
Starting Friday, TCU at Arizona State. Arizona State's a 2.5 favorite there at home, 8 p.m. Fox. I think with the way that Arizona State has shown some vulnerability and TCU's, at least to me, surprise, this could be a really big matchup for figuring out top tiers of the conference or contenders.
Yes. Yeah, I'm very excited to see this one. I think people are sleeping on Arizona State a little bit. Anytime TCU has any sort of momentum, I think everyone latches onto it and kind of gives them the benefit of the doubt that they don't necessarily give to some of the other Big 12 teams that are up and down any given year. But yeah, I mean, when you're 3 years removed from a national championship, appearance, you get that kind of treatment, and that's okay. Bring it on. I would love that. But yeah, I will be hopefully able to just completely watch this game. Although I will be distracted by the next one.
Yeah, this would be one that you turn on at halftime of this one. Houston on the road at Oregon State. So a fun little triangle of games here between Texas Tech, Oregon State, and Houston. Yeah, I think there was another game that would be a triangle then. Houston getting 12.5 points on the road in Corvallis, 9:30 ESPN. Really going to be interested to see what Houston does on the road up there, especially defensively. Or maybe offensively. See if they can put something together offensively. But they're getting a lot of points on the road. I think it's a lot of respect to their defense.
Yes, and I know that has a lot to do with Oregon State's struggles as well, but I would take the Cougs to cover on this one. I don't think I officially picked the other one. I don't even know if we're doing that, but I might take TCU. As much as I talked about how everybody falls in love with TCU, Any chance they get the chance? How many times can I say chance in a sentence? I think I still might pick TCU plus 2.5 on the road.
I think I would also take TCU there. And give me Oregon State to cover.
Oh, okay. I'm telling you, Houston's beaten everybody by 2 scores or more. And this is just right in their wheelhouse. Okay, we'll see.
Yeah.
We should keep
Saturday.
up with these. I feel like I've done really well on some weeks and then all absolutely bone awful on others, but maybe not.
I don't know
Maybe
if we want to go back.
maybe a listener will keep a spreadsheet and send it to us.
Yeah,
That'd
if
be
you want to
easier.
do some research. Saturday morning, Cincinnati at Kansas. Kansas is getting about a touchdown. 11 a.m. TNT HBO Max. Give me Kansas in the points here.
Same. Give me the Jayhawks.
Rock chalk. Stop right there. UCF at Kansas State. Kansas State is a 5.5 point favorite. FS1. This is a big show me moment for both of these teams. Like, is UCF for real? Like, are they actually, are they backing up their performances so far this season? Are they here for real? And is Kansas State going to rebound and get back into winning games? Give me UCF to cover.
Same,
potentially
man.
To win.
Yeah, give me UCF plus 5.5. Absolutely, I'll take that.
Utah at West Virginia. I think a lot of people are trying to drum this up as like a tricky trip across the country to West Virginia. It's not going to be a problem for Utah. 9.5 is not enough. It's going to be bad for West Virginia. Give me Utah on the points.
I hate to just keep agreeing with you, but yes, Utah.
We agree. Baylor at Oklahoma State. This line.
Ooh. Oh, yeah, that line was yesterday. I wonder what it is now. Oh, crap. Hang on.
It's deleted in 19.5 yesterday before the Gundy news, which is a lot of points for a conference game on the road. I don't think you're going to get some kind of emotional big step forward from Oklahoma State. So give me Baylor.
It's moved not as much as I thought. Of course, this is on the Score app, which isn't really like a gambling app. It's moved from 19.5 to 20.5. I don't know. Let me make it interesting. I'll take Oklahoma State plus 19.5.
Arizona, who's been maybe overperforming. We'll see. At Iowa State. Iowa State 6.5 point favorites. I would love to see Arizona here threaten Iowa State. So give me Arizona and those 6.5 points.
Well, Arkansas State threatened Iowa State for like 3.5 quarters not that long ago. But yeah, Arizona has they trounced Hawaii, trounced Weber State. Okay, big whoop. Took care of Kansas State by 6. Kansas State had some awful, I think, mistakes in that game and some weird play calling, and felt like Avery Johnson was being held back. So give me Iowa State. Give me the Cyclones.
Yeah, a win is a win. Like, I don't know how much you can actually give. I mean, the circumstances of going, to a foreign country week 0 to play that game and win in the fashion you did. I don't know how much credit we can give Iowa State. Like, the more that Kansas State struggles and looks bad, it's like Iowa State may not mean anything to Iowa State. Or for Iowa State.
Both of these teams beat Kansas State by just a score. So take that for what you will.
And then BYU getting almost a touchdown at Colorado.
Go Cougs.
Yeah, give me BYU. I think
BYU Colorado, by 14.
They're finding some things on offense, but I think the defense there for BYU is going to travel just fine. Other notable games: big noon kickoff, USC at Illinois.
Oops. That probably sounded really good 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, did they decide this last Friday?
I don't know.
Is it because it's like one of the only ranked matchups out there? Probably. That's not an ESPN or SEC school. The same. ESPN school.
I mean, there's another one. That's yeah, I guess you're right. It's the only ranked matchup that's not Big 12 or Big 10. Wait.
Yeah.
Opposite of what I said.
Flip it. Reverse it.
Flip it.
Game day is in Happy Valley for Oregon Penn State. That could be a really good game. It's a whiteout.
Yes.
Personally, I would just love to see Oregon win that one.
Me too, but I'm a sucker for those big Penn State home games. I'll try to watch as much as I can of that. That one's on NBC Saturday night.
There was that video clip. It was like the opening possession. Who was it? Michigan? And a whiteout. I can't remember. The team came in there. It was super loud. They were playing Flo Bamba.
I don't know.
Like I said that and like instantly like I don't think that's right.
Flo Rida?
No. Oh my gosh, hold on.
Thanks, Flo Bamba.
That can't be right. That doesn't sound right at all.
I don't even know what to look up.
That's not. What the heck was that? Mamba? No.
Mo. Yeah, because it sounds like a former UT basketball player.
Mo Bamba. Yes, it's Mo Bamba.
There you go. We got there.
They were doing
pulse.
that.
We have the pulse of the youths.
The Utes. And they got like a delay of game penalty on the opening first play of the game. Just unbelievable atmosphere. That could be very similar start to this game. I don't think Oregon's going to be rattled by it, but could be really good. But Penn State just doesn't have an offense. So Alabama at Georgia. Snooze. I couldn't care less.
Oh, seriously? Oh my gosh. Okay. I am this way about 90% of SEC matchups, but for some reason, this one always gets me. And it has for several years. So I will probably be watching some of that.
Aaron,
I mean, I could just let it go, but man, sorry. Go ahead. Chat. We got to chat.
No. Sorry. It's just like Aaron came in and chat. He said Mo Bamba, just like,
thanks,
guys. It was probably really painful. Like,
it had to have been awful.
Flo Bamba?
And then I was like, well, maybe you mean Flo Rida. No, that's not what he means at all.
The what?
Oh
my gosh. Notre Dame still somehow ranked at Arkansas. What? I say still ranked. They actually won a game finally.
This is a trap game, man. The Hogs might finally put them out of the top 25. We'll see. We'll see if a 1-4, not 1-4. We'll see if a 1-3 Notre Dame gets some votes next week if they lose at Arkansas.
Still receiving votes.
Receiving vote. No, come on. Come on.
26. And then finally, you had this one up on the board.
Yeah.
La Tech at UTEP.
Yeah, I want to go into that just a little bit. So I'm interested in that because the Fightin' Sonny Cumbies, for those of you who don't know, they are 3-1. Their one loss was at number 3 LSU, and it was a 23-7 loss that I think was 1 or 2 scores in the fourth quarter. They are favored by 4.5 on the road at UTEP.
Yeah.
And in their 3 wins, they have won by an average of 23 points. So
go Bulldogs.
ESPN Plus, you'll be hanging out Saturday night, checking out Notre Dame at Arkansas. Actually, I don't know when that is. But Oregon at Penn State is definitely the night game on NBC. I think Alabama at Georgia is the night game. And La Tech at UTEP is a night game on the ESPN Plus. So root on the 3-1 Fightin' Sonny Cumbies.
Out there in Ruston, Louisiana.
Yes.
All right.
I finally have a soccer update for you.
Let's hear it.
Okay. Was there any other football things you wanted to cover before I move on to football?
Just I guess go back to the schedule, overall schedule, like for a weekend where you don't have a game, there are plenty of other games and like great matchups to take in around the conference and a couple others in big conference elsewhere, but a lot of great games to watch when it's not Texas Tech. You just sit back and enjoy having the week off, no stress. Go 1-0 this weekend. So enjoy
It's
it.
a great feeling.
Live it
Bye
up.
weeks are a great feeling, especially after a win, especially when your team is 4-0. Another really good team that kicks a ball around, Texas Tech soccer. They are 7-1. They won their Big 12 opener on the road in Waco. Baco. Oh my gosh. Waco.
Baco.
Baylor. Baylor was no slouch either. They were 5-0 and 2 at the time of the game. Texas Tech had 19 shots in the game, which is they average about 18. So that's not crazy. What is crazy is they had 13 in the second half. So they were very aggressive on offense in the second half. They were able to get through the Baylor defense. 7 of those shots were on goal. Baylor only with 10 shots on goal, or 10 shots, 4 of them on the goal. But the one goal that was scored was all that mattered. Peyton Parsons scored on a penalty kick in the 72nd minute.
Wow.
Tech went on to win 1-0. That is her 4th goal on the year, and that is the second most on the team so far. So, through that round of games over the weekend, the rankings were updated, and I thought I'd kind of do the same thing that we do with football, keep all the Big 12 teams in here. So at number 10, TCU is 7-1-0. Number 14, Kansas is 7-0-2. Number 16, BYU is 5-2-1. And receiving votes, which technically makes them number 26, are your 7-1 Red Raiders. Just a couple of stats, since I haven't really shared much about the players this season, but and I'm going to butcher this, even though I practiced it before. Taylor Zdrojewski.
Okay.
Taylor Zdrojewski. Got it. Nailed it. She has been a force on offense. She has 7 goals, the most out of anybody on the team. As I mentioned, Parsons has 4, and she is second. Zdrojewski also has 2 assists. Macy Blackburn is basically Scottie Pippen over here. She's got only 1 goal, quote unquote only, but has 8 assists, my friend. So she is finding the open players. She's, I think some of those are on corner kicks. She's getting the ball where it needs to go. So on total, the team has 23 assists total on offense. All of the teams that they've played, all 8 teams that they have played, have combined for 5 assists. So the defense is not allowing any of these other teams to have the same type of offensive performance that the Red Raiders have had. Faith Nguyen has allowed 5 goals on 64 shots. She has 24 saves through 8 games. So she has been nails. I think one of her saves in Baylor was making the rounds on social media. Y'all should find it. Check it out. So upcoming this week, more Big 12 play. Houston comes to town on Thursday at 7 p.m. Houston is 6-0-2 on the season. They are 1-0 in Big 12 play. Their lone Big 12 opener over the weekend was against Cincy, who has struggled a little bit this year. Cincy is 2-3-4 after playing Houston, and Houston defeated them 3-1. So Houston's going to be a tough opponent. Then following them on Sunday, we're getting back to where we're having 2 games a week. Sunday, September 28th, Red Raiders will be at Iowa State. Iowa State is 4-1-2. They are also 1-0 in Big 12 play. And then Thursday, October 2nd, They will take on Oklahoma State, who is 4-4-1, so struggling a little bit. Are the Cowboys? Cowgirls? I don't know. I don't know how that works. But Texas Tech has 2 really tough games ahead. You know, you never want to assume that you're going to win no matter what, but the Oklahoma State game might be slightly more in Texas Tech's favor. So with Houston coming to town, got to be ready. But we'll see what they're made of. They may have had a pretty easy pre-conference season, but I'm going to find out with the rest of you on Thursday at 7 p.m. And as always, listen to our friends at Seeing Scarlet. They always go into a lot more analysis than I am able to or am qualified to do. Although I do enjoy soccer, and I've got to get to a game this year. I think there's a Friday night game in October that I've circled on my calendar.
There you go. Yeah, there's been so much going on. I can't even measure my available resources to see outside of my own world. And I know that's pitiful sometimes, but like Move does that, man.
It happens.
Being settled into a new city across the state.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
It's wonderful to hear they're doing well, but I was like, I have no capacity.
Understood.
Which I'm glad you're keeping us all up to date because we need it. 7-1 is a fantastic start.
Oh yeah, they're rolling. And to kind of echo this same sentiment, we have basketball to talk about next. And the only thing I wrote down was that the Big 12 schedules were announced, but in my head, I'm like, we already knew what they were. All they did was put the dates.
Yeah, like we knew
That's
who
all
was
they
playing where. Now we know when. So
yeah. So I mean that's helpful, but
if you haven't seen it, it's out there. You can go look at the schedule.
It's out there.
Now the entire schedule is released. We'll get games here in about 2 months. So
yep, they released the Lady Raiders on Monday and the Red Raiders today. So you can find it if that so interests you.
You can find it just like we did. All right.
September.
Let's get to questions.
All right. I maybe I should ask this question because I wrote it and because it may be kind of a tricky, I don't know how well I worded it. So here's my question to you, Spencer. Have you made any good purchases lately for traveling? And I will go first to give you some time to think. I should have brought it so I could show it to you. But on my recent trip where I was out of town for a conference, I'd stayed in hotels a couple of times over the summer or just throughout my entire life. And there's so many times you're like, man, I wish I had a fan. It would be so nice to have a fan. Just one, it would make a little bit of, white noise, but two, it's just nice to have some air moving around.
Sure.
Because there's a lot of hotels where even if your air conditioner's running all night, it feels still in there. Like there's just no air moving across my skin that likes to sweat, even when perfectly comfortable.
62 degrees, like, man, there's no air moving. It feels kind of still.
It does happen. I'm freezing, but I'm also hot because
I feel microwaved.
Yes. So I bought, it's about the size, I don't know, of a notebook, of like a small spiral notebook. It is a very thin fan that stands up, and you can use a USB to power it.
Okay.
It doesn't have a battery, so you don't have to worry about where you check it in your luggage and all that crap. So it's really easy to fit in luggage. And brother, it puts out some air. I was thrilled. I was slightly disappointed with how quiet it was. I was hoping for a little more white noise. But man, this thing was like $14 on Amazon.
Oh, nice.
And I used it every night while I was gone. And there'd be times like I'd be doing stuff on my laptop for work or for the podcast, and I'd have that fan running right next to me. It was just so nice. So that is what I mean by the question of, have you made any good purchases lately for traveling? I'm very proud of my cheap Amazon USB fan.
No, not in this same vein.
So I'm rooting for you, Spencer.
We've purchased like a beach canopy shade, but we live here now, so it's not like it's for traveling. But it would be for other
you still
people.
got to travel to the beach.
Yeah. So it's a little shade structure that you pop up and you face it into the wind, and it's got 2 poles that attach in the front. It's like a lean-to type of shape to it. That's why you have to face it into the wind, otherwise it's gonna blow over. And ask me how I know.
That's why I have one of those, and that's why I've never set it up. We bought it with the intent of using it at Burl Huffman out at the soccer games. It's like, yeah, this is just going to be a sale.
And it's great, but like any change in wind direction, like you can have it set up perfectly, but then like 2 degrees, it comes off of, your face. You're like, oh, now it's gonna catch funny and it's gonna whatever. And maybe it's just I just had we never had it set up as well as I thought I did. It was really good. We've also not been back to the beach long enough to need it. Like we still go fairly regularly, which you'd kind of hope so. Like if you're one of the main attractions to moving down here was to be close to the beach. Like if that goes away within a month of moving down here, it's kind of sad. We still go pretty regularly, but because we go whenever we want, it's not like we go there for hours at a time where we would need a shade. And because of the weekends we've had time off, it's also been like around like a holiday. Like I don't want to fight holiday crowds. We may go back this weekend just because I'll take it and I'll set up my chair and a small cooler of Dr. Pepper and just sit there.
I could use a Dr. Pepper. I haven't wanted one very much in a long time until you said that. It just sounds really good right now.
Or the A&W ice cream sundae. That's also a really good one.
That's right.
Still plug
that's
that.
Your
If you
new
haven't tried
jam.
it yet. I haven't tried it yet. So, but specifically for traveling, no, we're trying to find the resources, capacity to think about it and do it just right. But we need to replace vehicles. That will be traveling.
Yeah, that's a good purchase for traveling.
Now that we're settled in, we have an idea about our expenses and paychecks and all the things, and we're just like, okay, now let's do it. And I was like, car buying is such a stupid hassle.
Well, maybe I should share what showed up on my Facebook right before we recorded. So, I've been looking at cars here and there, looking at possibly upgrading the pickup. We're not really upgrading. I don't know. I just can't help
just
it. Like
replacing.
if things are still, if it's still running, it's still working, it's relatively low miles for how old it is. I'm just so hesitant to pull the trigger on, well, obviously I've got to trade it in because it's X amount years old and it has this many miles. I'm like, yeah, but it's running well. And yes, I've had work done to it this year, but whatever. That's what happens.
Well, maintenance. Yeah, it happens.
Exactly. Anyway, but still, I'm like, okay, I'm looking around, and because Facebook knows I am, it shows me stuff every now and then that I am not looking for. And this was one of those times, but I thought maybe you could find it useful. It was I forget what it's called. I think it's called Cypress Gray. It's a really cool color that GM has now, which is basically like a green. It's a really deep, dark green, but also has, like if it's on a cloudy day, it kind of almost looks gray. Can't really explain it, but I'm trying to on a visual medium. So good job thinking that through. Anyway, it was a Yukon XL AT4 Cypress Gray SUV, and it was on like 22-inch rims with off-road tires. It was lifted a little bit. Do you want to guess how much the price was for this vehicle?
What was the year again?
Brand new.
74.
Yukon XL.
Oh wait,
74?
no, 84.
84? Okay. 124.
Oh my gosh.
So
I knew it was
I'll send
ridiculous,
this
but
to you.
dang.
I'll send this to you when we get off the call. Actually, Facebook probably won't let me find it again because heaven forbid you close it, or something happens, and you're looking at a post like, oh, I want to read that post, and then you put your phone down, and then you open it again, and it just scatters and reloads everything. So anyway, I wouldn't be able to find it for you if I wanted to, but just look up $125,000 Yukons, and I'm sure it'll pop up somewhere. That'd be a great vehicle for you guys. It's 4-wheel drive. You could definitely fit all the kids. You could fit your canopy. You could go to the beach and pull people out of the sand.
Speaking of vehicles, I saw one out and about today. It was a F-150 Shelby Raptor Baja.
What?
And I was like, that truck's got to be at least 130,
Oh yeah, that's in the hundreds.
$140,000 truck.
Yeah,
and like absolutely clean, as you would expect a very expensive truck to be. I was like, this dude is not like this. It's fine. It was definitely like a cool factor type of truck.
he's not the guy that's going to haul your rose bushes trimmings away for you.
No,
Not going to
even
haul some brush, some old nail ridden pallets. Nail riddled. It's late.
All right. Speaking of, let's get to what we learned and wrap this thing up. Yeah. Let's do it. All right. What did we learn, Michael? We learned that technology is not to be trusted. We've been running the same setup, and there's always something going wrong with this. Usually craps out like it did in this episode. 5 minutes in, lose audio. I thought it was the computer the last computer. No, it's all these computers. I don't know if it's the docking station, if it's the board itself, or if it's just a flaw of Rivers. I don't even know. Combination of all the above, but it's stupid. I wish things would work the way I want it to work.
One of the reasons you moved 9 hours away was to just see if Wi-Fi was an issue. With the
internet's been fine.
Yeah, internet's been great. It's not that. We can rule that out. Okay, the thing I learned, a place here in Lubbock. I'll go ahead and say who they are because I don't think I'm going to say anything bad, but it's Escondido Grill. They are just west of the airport on Regis. They have done this a couple of times now. I think they have some sort of family connection to Fur's Cafeteria. I don't know if you ever went to a Fur's, Spencer. Are you familiar with it at all?
I'm familiar with Fur's, yeah.
Okay. So what they've done, they'll have their food truck set up at 4:15 every now and then with Fur's food. And then they will also have dinners, I don't know, a couple times a year. And those tickets sell out really fast. And so I bought a ticket for my mom and I to go Sunday afternoon because I didn't really know, you buy a ticket for a certain time, but you've got to be flexible with stuff like this because you know that they sell out. 1, 2, I've never done it. 3, people calculate how long they think it's going to take to do things, and then it's never right. So yeah, we were 30 minutes beyond our seating time, and then it took about an hour for the food to get there once we sat. I'm still trying I'm not talking bad because it was just the nature of it. A lot of people were into this because, brother, when the food showed up, it was worth it. It was 100% worth it. I have like this emotional connection to Fur's chicken fried steak. And it was probably the best Fur's chicken fried steak I've ever had. Because usually when you would get it at Fur's, they were cooking who knows how many at a time, and they were putting them in the chafing dish all together, and they throw it on your plate and move you down the line. And so the quality varied regarding the crispness of the breading, but the way they were doing it out at Escondido, that breading was immaculate. It was just crispy the whole way through, even after it had gravy on it for a while, as I was eating all the other delicious, the mac and cheese, the green beans, the salads, the butter chest pie, mashed potatoes and gravy. I was just floored. It was like being transported in a time capsule back to when my family and I would go eat Furs, but then also at that same token being served the best version of their chicken fried steak you've probably ever had. So if this pops back up, people in Lubbock, give it a shot. Follow them on Facebook, no free ads, Escondido Grill. They do serve a very limited Furs menu at the quarter 4 parking lot out of their food truck every now and then. That might be a good way to try it out. If you do one of the dinners, just be flexible. Maybe don't book a group of 9 or 10 people. Because I'm really glad that this worked out, because I knew that my mom would really be into it, and so we had a nice time just getting to chat, because we don't get to just do that as much as we used to. And I knew that my wife and daughter would be like, they have no connection to Furs, especially if they're going to have to wait 2 hours for it. They would probably just be like ready to leave, and I wouldn't blame them. But I was not. I was so glad we stuck it out. It was very much worth it. And I don't know if I would do it again, but I'm very glad I did it.
Well, all right. I haven't had a chicken fried steak in I couldn't even tell you how long.
That's a great point. That was the first one I've had probably since my birthday a couple summers ago. I had one at Ike's that was fantastic. Ike's made a really good one. Completely different, though. The way Furs makes it and the way Ike's makes it, the batter is completely different.
Sure.
Furs is its own thing. Always has been.
Well, I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
Glad you enjoy it.
I'm happy for me, too.
That'll do it for us. 23 Personal Podcast. Getting you ready for a weekend of yard work, housework, chores, relaxing time on the beach, kicking back, watching lots of college football that's not our Red Raiders. Stress-free, man. Enjoy it. We will be back next Tuesday for our Houston preview. No instant reaction from Michael. I'm Spencer. We'll catch you guys next time.
Thank you for listening to the 23 Personnel Podcast. Help us out by subscribing, rating the show, and leaving a review. Follow us on Twitter at 23 Personnel, Spencer at PuntSuck, and Michael at Michael_LBK. Be sure to catch the next episode. And until then, guns up and let the tortillas fly.